And welcome back to another episode of It's All About Evolving. I'm your host, Kathy Howell, and joining us today, I have a co-host, and her name is Lora. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lora.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for having me. I'm so honored and blessed to be on your podcast. My first one. So
You're welcome. And in this episode, Lora will be sharing her story, and we'll be talking about, I won't spill everything in the beginning. I'll just let Lora talk and we'll go from there. This episode is a little bit different. So here you go. So Lora, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yes. I'll start with today where I am now. My name's Lora Kirby. I'm a 50-year-old woman living in Venice, California. I have two beautiful, amazing daughters, Narelle and Dominique. Dominique is 22 years old, and Narelle is 25. And I came to California over 20 some years ago. I grew up in a really, really tiny place in Colorado. It's called Haswell, Colorado. Really tiny town of like 120 people. So it was a great experience, something I wouldn't ever take away, but to grow up in a small little town like that. But I kind of feel like that's where my journey kind of started and began. Of this topic we're talking about today is of my growth and my journey, and going from this young girl with lack of self-esteem and confidence, and how over the years and the journey that I've been on and all the ups and the downs, and how that's brought me to this place today to go on this podcast. Number one, do a video is one thing, and then to even put myself out there even further to do it live via video. But yeah, that's where my journey started. I think growing up in a place where everything's so small, you could be magnified because you're comparing. We start out young, comparing ourselves to others, and when you're in a place where it's really easy to see what you're lacking, what others have, and it was a blessing, and I will never take anything away from where I grew up and how I grew up, because all of that was part of my journey, and it even started prior to that, because even I moved to California, like I said, 20 years ago, from that place, but I started in California. I don't even think I shared this. I'm not sure if I shared this with you, but I was born in California, and I was born to a woman who chose to give me up for adoption. So my beautiful parents, Lauren and Lora Kirby, who both amazing, beautiful beings, they wanted children of their own, and they couldn't have their children of their own. So previous to me, they adopted my brother, Leroy. And it is actually today, the day I chose is May 24th. There's multiple reasons for that day. But today, May 24th, is my brother's birthday. He's turning, I think, 53 or 54. He's still living in Colorado. And I apologize if I do like to talk to with my hands a little bit, but that's just who I am.
That's okay.
I am. I've been that way since I was a little girl. Like, I remember Lora Kirby as a girl who talks fast, talks a lot, and talks with her hands, but that's just who I am. And I had my brother who was just more refined, reserved, more, yeah, he was different. But so yeah, my parents always told us from the beginning that we were raised and we were chosen with love, so I never didn't know otherwise, so I always appreciated that they told us that, and that was part of our story. Even growing up, I'd met other girls who their parents chose to keep that from them. I feel like anytime there's any secrets in the family, anything being held back, that's going to years later cause
it's gonna hurt
and pain. Yeah. So I was always blessed. I was always knowing that, my parents chose me out of love. But you never can understand yourself or your reasoning why, like, you still have that little thing of why you feel less than. It's just something that you can't explain, so I didn't know if it's that little nugget in the back of my mind, knowing that I was given up for an adoption, or just growing up in this town where, this small town. And then I had to travel to this 21 miles. I took a bus 21 miles to this other town. So that was quite an ordeal. This little small town was so small that the school that it was at one point. I was the only one in my age in my classroom. So then moved to the other school, and it was I will never take that experience away because it was amazing. Because growing up in a small town, you're able to try out for anything and everything. You can try, I wasn't the best at track. I wasn't the best at anything,
Mm-hmm.
cheerleading. But when you grow up there, whatever your dream is, you can do it. You want to be a cheerleader, you're a cheerleader. You want to be in track and field, you're in track and field. You want to be in basketball, I was the one always falling and screaming, but I had that option, but
Yeah.
still I was always comparing myself. It's so weird. You go back and you just always, there's that thing of that little side of us that we're always comparing ourselves to others. It was funny because recently, I don't know if you know that you can go back and look at class, your
High school
high school and read
photos.
photos and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the girls I remember that I compared myself was the one who her family had money. Her father was a dad. And she was the one that could just everything she did, just like she was great at every sports. She would, that's who I remembered comparing myself to. I remember one point when you go, if you remember back in the day, you would go into the nurses. If you go, I sneaked through the little thing and I saw like her weight. And I compared it to my weight. And my weight was, I weighed 10 pounds less than her, but why do I not feel beautiful? Why don't I feel like I compare,
Yeah.
It was just crazy. But it was maybe 3 weeks ago, I was sharing, going back with my daughters and looking at, I found them online. And I didn't even tell my girls that story, but they looked at, they're like, oh, this girl, I didn't say her name. It's like, oh, this girl, like she was out there, like even my girls to this day, that's what we do. It's just, it doesn't change from the time that I was young to the time that my girls are young to even when my mom was there. There's always this thing of what as women, I know men suffer from it as well, but I just feel women in general, we suffer from it more, always comparing ourselves to others out there, always. And it's a sad thing because we're all beautiful in our own right, in our own way, but it takes a long time and a long journey to get to that place.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I'm still, as I'm talking to you, I'm still nervous and worried about how I look. And, but I'm not worried about that camera right now. I'm just worried about and your beautiful energy and your beautiful light that you have, and just trying to, I didn't even prepare. I wanted to prepare. I'm one of those people that likes to prepare everything. That's me trying to control everything. And I'm like, I'm not going to control. I'm just wanted to like, let it flow. So kind of fast forward. So moving from there, I always had this dream. So when you're a little girl,
Yeah.
most of us young girls, we dream of, meeting that Prince Charming and having that beautiful relationship. That's, boys want, cars and trucks. Girls play with Barbies and the Ken doll, and they want that loving relationship. And and then, you watch movies and you're like, oh, I want to be the actress in the movie. And you see the love story and you want that, that's what we all kind of dream of, so when I came to California, I moved to California after graduating high school. And I will have to say, like, one of the things when you're comparing yourself and you're judging yourself and you're so hard on yourself, you have to go back into the beginning and I'm starting to look at where areas where I need to see where I succeeded and where I was very successful and where I've done things. So, I will go back to like when my brother graduated, he was 4 years older than me. He graduated as valedictorian of his class.
Mm-hmm.
When I graduated 4 years later, I graduated salutatorian. Still a great accomplishment. I came in and, I just realized, okay, he was always, I'm always comparing myself to my brother, number one. So he's always one level up higher than me. But you know what? That was a great accomplishment. I was salutatorian. Yes, it was a small school. Yes, it was, but that's, I didn't think about it then, but
Yeah.
I did well, but I still then compared myself because there was one girl that was valedictorian and there was two of us that they couldn't decide. So we shared that. So I still felt like even in that moment, I took that accomplishment away from myself, feeling like, wow, there was two of us. No, not even just one, but I don't think about all these things until years later. I start really dwelling on like, wow, there's been times where I've, accomplished a lot. So that was one of the first things that I can go back to. So moving to California, I was quite young. I was like in my 20s. I went 1 year to college in the University of Greeley in Colorado. My parents moved to California because my grandma lived here. So I was there by myself. I still had this dream and desire to come to California. I just felt that calling, like that's where it's going to be for me. Not soon after I moved here, though, I met what I felt was the man of my dreams, the man that, was going to be my soulmate, I believe, and we were going to have this beautiful life. And you know what? We did have our ups and down. We had far more downs than we had ups. But the two most beautiful gifts I got from him was my two daughters that I mentioned earlier, Dominique and Narelle. So the day I mentioned the other day, May 24th, was the day that I met him. So I remember the day I met him because it was my brother's birthday. So I remember meeting him, my brother's birthday, 1992. And, from that, it's a beautiful thing. I have two amazing, beautiful daughters. That's an accomplishment. When you're a mother, that's one of the greatest accomplishments. That's one of the greatest gifts that sometimes as mothers, we don't even look at. It's to raise a daughter, to have a child and to raise them and to be close with them. My daughters and I are very, very close. The situation from my marriage, from the traumatic marriage I had, caused us to become very close. But I'm so blessed because I know other girls that don't have that connection, mother, daughter with them. And so that was, that alone too. But also when you kind of have this feeling of lack of self-esteem and self-worth, like when I met my ex-husband, everything was about him. My value, my worth was in this other man and what he thought of me and if he loved me and if he accepted me. And then over the years, so then I'll kind of tread back to the beginning of our marriage and a secret that I had shared with him that was the major part of my story. But moving forward, because of that, so when you've kind of fallen into giving yourself to this other person, this man, then you have children. And if you're kind of lacking in that stuff, then you throw yourself into your children. And then again, your worth goes into raising your children and seeing yourself. So you kind of always put yourself. So growing up, I put myself second to my brother. Then I met my ex-husband, I put myself second to him. Then I had my children, I put myself second to them. Always putting yourself. And I always felt like it's a beautiful thing to love unconditionally, to love others, and treat them the way you want to be treated, whether or not they treat you that way. But I just felt like I was in this marriage for 22 years. And it was a very traumatic and very verbally and physically abusive and stuff. But I always took this, I was losing myself each and every year that passed by. You lose yourself. Right. You lose yourself to pleasing this other person. Like, but God, I'm a good person. I don't treat him badly. He may treat me badly, but I don't treat him badly. And why? You ask yourself, why do people treat, you ask all these questions. Why do people treat you this way? And why don't they treat me the way? But as we also have to know our value, we have to know our worth, and we have to know that we are all equal on this earth and this planet. And whatever we tell them, whatever we share with them, should not be something that they hold against us to make us feel less valuable. But that's what it did happen for me. I chose to the day we met, actually. I'm somebody that wears my heart on my sleeve. You can tell. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Anybody knows I wear my heart on my sleeve. So when I met him, the night I met him, I was in a pretty dark place. And feeling, when I met him too, I was like this place of, you're looking, you're searching, you want this love. You're like, that maybe you're not going about it the right way, looking for love. But what your thing is, that at the core of it, your heart is, you want love. Yeah. And you're trying to connect with another human being, another man, and you just want to feel their love. So I had gotten pregnant right before I turned 21, and I chose to have an abortion. And I didn't share. I had, like I said, my parents, if I tell you, they would have opened me. They would have loved me with open arms. They would have accepted me. But I think I was the first person who didn't accept myself. And I instantly thought, going to compare myself to my brother. Yeah. How is my brother going to think? What is the rest of my family going to think? How am I? You put all these other, things out there first. And all of a sudden it just becomes like, I can't talk to him. I can't. And then what am I going to do? I don't know. Is this a dream? Is this a nightmare? How do I go through this? But I guess that's kind of where it taught me. I became this person that's just, I always kind of just do and just become strong and then just move on. And I remember I took myself there. You're not supposed to take yourself there. You're supposed to have somebody take you there. You're supposed to have somebody drive you home. So that was one experience that I went through all on my own. And I remember coming back. I remember as mothers, and I found out just years later, when your children go through things,
Mm-hmm.
we know, we have a sense, we have a feeling. My mom had a sense, had a feeling. She asked me, and I didn't say anything to her. But when I met my ex-husband on May 24th, one of the things I couldn't hide from him, I don't even remember how we were with another couple and they had this subject came up. I couldn't hide it. He saw the pain in my heart. He saw all that, and he accepted me, and he, wanted to know more and stuff. But that could have been something beautiful to help us like grow together as a friendship, and him help me and help me through my healing. Instead, what unfortunately some men choose to do when they find women that are weak and vulnerable, they use those weaknesses and their vulnerabilities against
Mm-hmm.
them. And so he kind of held that over my head for the entirety of our marriage.
Oh
And
my
so I'm
gosh.
myself already feeling that guilt, that shame, that pain, and then having somebody else. And then toppled with it, as I shared with you, I was adopted, right?
Yeah.
So there's another level to that. I'm adopted. I know I had a mother out there who chose to have me,
Mm-hmm.
and was blessed my parents with, with these, both of myself and my brother. So I knew there were other women out there that were stronger than me. So there I'm comparing myself. I'm judging myself from being not strong enough. And then I have someone who's just throwing it in my face,
Oh my
daily.
gosh.
And then there's, but he loves me, but he loves me, but he, you go these things like, well, this man loves me. And he, there's all these other levels come in, and jealousy and control. And as women, we try to like justify everything that happens, and we stay and we stay and we stay. But each and every year that goes by, we lose ourselves. We lose
Yeah,
our
it eats you
self-esteem.
away.
It eats away at you, eats away at you. So here I am today, 50, and I feel at the height of my life. I feel that the most at peace, in love with myself, I feel whole. But when I was in my marriage, I remember my 30s, when I just felt like for about 10 years of my life, it was just the darkest times. I felt twice my age. Um, I had gone through 2 weeks. I'm not sure you go through physical. I've had some physical issues. My daughter's had physical things. There's so much that's related, the physical body and the mental,
Mm-hmm.
all kind of goes hand in hand. And so there was a lot of years of that too to deal with. So it's a lot. So you can imagine, as a woman, if you're not that strong. I've met so many fiery women, like my best friend I met, her name's Julie. She's a Cuban from Florida, and she's just got this fire, and she's just like, no man keeps me down. And I may struggle, I may have my issues, but no other woman keeps me down. You've met these women. There's women out there that just nothing in life will take
Get
them.
it down. Yeah.
Yeah, but for myself, I knew I wasn't one of them. So I always had to, connect with other women to like start opening up and feeling and sharing. And like I said, the moment I met her, the girl I just mentioned, Julie, she met me, she knew instantly, instantly of meeting me,
Mm-hmm.
that I was in a traumatic marriage. I was in an abusive marriage. I was going through that, but she didn't press on. She didn't ask. She knew at the moment in time I would come to her
Mm-hmm.
when I needed to. And that's what we all should know, that there's women out there hurting, men out there hurting. And, I think men are the ones that kind of help guide and support other men, and as women do the same for other women. So just always know that you might come across someone out there who's going through struggles. They might not all be exactly the same. Along the journey, I've met other women who have gone through abortions, and they've never been affected by
Mm-hmm.
it at all. It wasn't something they carry. I've met other women who've gone through abuse. It's not, or they haven't gone through, but they have another story. They're, through, we mentioned before, like a rape, or like every woman has gone through something that's traumatic. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of their story, that either keeps them in that place or continues on each year to be like a journey of healing.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like I've been on this, in the last, like I say, 3 years, 4 years has been the best growing, the best part of my growth. That's been the most where I'm feeling like, yeah, I really kind of feel like the rest of that's on the, like I said, if I turn 50, maybe that's that milestone, that everything's on the other side, and then this is where I'm starting my life again. And so my goal has just been everything I've gone through. I just, like I was mentioning before, when you get out of that, you don't, when you're going through it, you don't even know anything different. You're like, you have no idea. You don't know anything different. When you get out of that, I relate to like coming out of a lion's den, like a lion being in cage. You get out of that and you're just like, you're so free and you're so alive, and
Yeah.
like you don't recognize that person. But then when you forget about that person, then you forget that there's other women who are struggling and who might be going through the same thing. And as mentioned to you earlier too, like during this time, like COVID and this pandemic, my heart has just really gone out, because I just know that there's got to be so many women, family, children, husbands, they're all like in this place of it's enough stress just in general for someone to be at home and in quarantine, and then you have any type of those traumas, because and the reason men are treat you badly sometimes it's their own trauma, it's their own things, you know,
Yeah.
it usually comes from somewhere deeper. From the women, it comes from somewhere deeper. But I feel like the only way to evolve from that is to put in the work and really want to go deep to the root of the problem, get the help, and then you can move forward. But what happens, you can't have one person doing that. When one person chooses to do that and the other one doesn't, it doesn't work. You have to have both people willing to look at what's causing them that trauma, that hurt, and have a beautiful, communicative, loving, friendship based marriage, partnership, and to be able to, you know, and to like when you raise children too, you have to always be in the same page. There's so many levels to that. So that's just been, you know, there's so many areas where I feel like my life has been affected and I can reach out to other women. But at the core, at the very, very core for me, my message has been evolving and becoming this message that is loving yourself. And that is after the child that I chose not to have. You to go through the healing and stuff, you name them. So I named her Lily. So that is loving yourself.
Oh, that's so
And
beautiful.
that itself has been that has been just an involvement of its own. When I first, I couldn't talk about it before. I was in Florida and there was a church. Like I said, my ex-husband was the only, at that point still he was the only person who knew. Later, my girls didn't know, because that was one of the things he wanted to wait till they're old enough to like, let me tell your girls what you did, what, you know.
Oh
You know,
man.
so those are the things that, but everything that makes you, breaks you before makes you stronger. So
Yeah.
that was something, you know what, I appreciate that that's something my girls have been part of my healing journey and learning. But in the beginning, I wasn't able to talk about it, but there was a church that I went through. Even when I chose church, I went to the church. My ex asked me to, you know, my path wasn't my path. So I didn't have that inner strength and confidence to do anything on my own, because mine was always to please somebody else and follow their path and what they needed to make everything run smoothly, you know. But I still appreciate every church or every place I've ever been involved in. Any person I've met along the way, it's been just, there's a reason they've been in my life. They've come across my path. And so when I went to that church and they had a memorial where you can name your child and have a little memorial for them. And so two other things that I felt shame and guilt, though. I didn't talk to anyone. I just kind of sent in. And I, at the time, didn't have the financial extra money to like send money in. But I know her name's over there and she's got this memorial over there. So that's I appreciated that church that they accepted, because some churches won't even talk about it or, you know, because that's taboo. You know, things now are starting to, all these subjects, abortion, rape, they're starting to not be so taboo, because there's so much of that's happened to so many women. And there's so many things that, you know, men as well gone through PTSD in the firemen's and policemen, you know, so we're starting to talk about these issues, you know. So, but I did appreciate that church and that I have that, but that's where that was my first step that was a little part of my healing, where I named her and I have a memorial. There was a couple different times I wanted to go through the abortion healing class, and it wasn't the right time. Everything in life is always at the right timing. So there was once in Florida, I started to go, it wasn't the right time. I was in the deep depths of this marriage and it was not a good marriage, and needed to move on from that. When brought me back to California was of trying to, when there was a point where I separated from my ex-husband and I took him back. And so he kind of wanted to get me away from, you know, that support system. So we moved back here. But again, there's no mistake in anything. So I always wanted to come back to California, and this is, where my journey is now. And I'm beyond happy with where I'm at, and the relationship I'm in right now. And so everything happens for a reason. But there was a second time when I was here in California, I started to take the class. It wasn't the right timing. So I just remember like still feeling like, I move out of this marriage and I'm trying to become strong. I've had a couple of relationships in between that I lost that, everything was realizing they weren't the right timing, because I wasn't just the person that I was meant to be, to have a partnership, to
Right.
have a healthy relationship, and to have one that's going to, even though they were beautiful relationships, I didn't have the value in myself. So when I started to look at what makes me want to really reach out and what makes me feel like I need to help others, I said, okay, I have this dream to like help girls that have had an abortion, or maybe to educate them so they won't go through that, because they don't realize it's a one little simple choice you make, but you don't realize the effects that the road that could lead down. So I put myself to, this is what I suggest to girls too, like women, wherever your passion is, and no matter whatever your passion is, what's going to help you get there is to find an organization where you can serve, where you can volunteer, and you can put your resources to that. So there's this wonderful pregnancy clinic in Huntington Beach. And they offer, like, if you're in an unplanned pregnancy, then they offer you to go in there. They don't try to sway you in any way, but they offer free ultrasound. So you go in there and you can have an ultrasound. And if you choose to carry the baby, and they offer classes, education for yourself, for your partner. They help you with diapers. And so that was a beautiful organization, because it's Horizon Pregnancy Clinic. So that was a beautiful place to put my serve. And I shared with them that I wanted to also reach out and help other women. But to do that, they're like, well, I know that you've gone through this healing, but you're not quite there. You need to go through this healing class. So that's where I actually sat down for the first time and went through it's called Forgiven and Set Free. It's an abortion recovery class. So that's probably number one, where for the first time, the inner strength and confidence came from myself, because it was something I did on my own. I went with these other women and shared for the first time.
Yeah.
I had shared after with my ex-husband and the marriage and the problems. I did share with some friends, and I did share with my mom years later and stuff. But when somebody can't really connect to your story, it's not going to help you, become strong. So going through that class, being with other women, the women who ran the class, and then the ones that went through it, that was the first step, really, truly, of my journey to find the strength that I have within. And the strength I have within to know is that no matter what mistakes I've ever made, that I'm loved, and I give love freely to everybody else. But at the core, you need to give love to yourself, because you really, truly can't love and have a healthy love for anyone else if you don't love yourself. Yeah. So that, to forgive myself and to set myself free of that guilt and that shame and all the other areas where it affected my life, and it, maybe sent me in this direction, that, everything that happens kind of is a trigger thing. So I had to let all that go. So that's kind of what I want women, particularly who have gone through an abortion, to know that no matter whether you open up and you have that confidence, and that you feel like you can open up and share with anyone else, maybe just start the journey yourself on your own. There's so much tools out there, like, I'm willing to share that, all the tools, that naming your child, and even the name itself, for me, it evolved, because I had the name, I named her years ago, but during the other class, then I'm like, okay, I had to actually write herself down.
Write it down.
And this is when we graduated from the class, we went through a celebration of life, and you even come up with the date that would be your child's birthday, and then you celebrate their life and you release them. So I had to actually write it, you had to have it in written form. So then I would go back and forth, but 1 L or 2 L's, how do I name, how do I spell this word, Lily?
Yeah.
And that just evolved until this year in January. It didn't evolve until January, to know that my mission is just to speak out and talk to others, not just women who share my story and, connect with me. I went to a class in January that was a live video sales mastery class. And I know all these other people, I would compare myself because they have careers, they have degrees, they have a business, they're beautiful, they have all these other things. But I'm like, for some reason, something was saying I needed to go there. I needed to go there. I needed to feel, so I needed to feel comfortable in front of a camera and talking and sharing openly. And if you know where I was then to where I am now, I know I've come a long way, because those 2 days I was in that seminar was beautiful. And I had to share. You have to, everybody has their own little pitch and things, and you have to share and open. And I shared for the first time openly, talked about it openly in front of 10 other people, or maybe as well 13, 10 other in the group, and like 13. So that was an accomplishment. And then I kind of took a little further going, joining this Facebook Live and joining these groups where you put yourself out there and you start talking about it. So that over time, all these tools, all those steps, I would have never guessed. I would never guess that I would have gotten out of the marriage I was, and I wouldn't be this broken mess of a person. I mean, I couldn't hear a certain song. I couldn't do anything without breaking down, without crying. When you get past that point and you hear that same song and you just feel empowered and you feel like alive and you feel like, wow, you came so far. That feels so good. But it's like, but that wasn't it. You just keep having to keep reaching for something more. You have to always keep reaching for something more, because if you're true to yourself, there's other dreams that you have, and they could be crazy out there dreams that probably could never come true. But coming from a little tiny town in Colorado, and coming in California to myself, I've worked jobs where I've put myself there, not glamorous jobs. They're not, jobs that maybe anyone would take, but I've put myself in areas where, you know what, I don't have a yacht, but I worked on a yacht, and I appreciate this. I've worked in these homes, and it's like, you got to appreciate everything, every part of your journey that's specific to you. And that's taken me a journey, because I've just always been comparing myself. Well, why am I doing a job where I'm cleaning somebody's home or cooking somebody's meal? I'm doing that. But no, it's, what, it's beautiful. Everything that I've done has been, to strengthen my own self. And, maybe I didn't have what some other women take to be successful, because I didn't have that inner confidence that they just were born with. It was in them. It was instilled with them. So that has just been, for me, all these things I know for myself, I do have to put in the work and put in steps to bring out that confidence and to feel confident. I've always kind of, like I said, I'm in a beautiful relationship now, and he's beautiful and he makes me feel beautiful all the time. But I also start realizing I need to feel beautiful on my own.
Yeah.
Away from, I need to feel that. I need to feel confident and beautiful on my own, just the way he sees me, which is beautiful, because he sees me the way God sees me. So it's beautiful, but I need to see myself that way. So taking these classes, like putting myself on camera, taking dance classes that I normally wouldn't, taking, a pole dance class that somebody would maybe judge you on. Like, no, that's challenging myself and putting myself out there in something where
that's awesome. That sounds like fun.
It's called Sheila Kelly S Factor. It's movement and accepting yourself and who you are and all those things. Like, and you may not feel that confident all the time. And I know I go up and down, and I spend more time being in that down place of not feeling confident. But all those tools and all those things I do, that helps me. And then when you connect with other women, and other women accept you the way you accept them, with open arms, and they're supportive, because I just think women should support other women, and just we should support each other, because there's no competition. There's no, when I was working in the marketing and field and stuff, I remember the person who kept me from getting the promotion was another woman, because she'd kind of gotten up there, but she didn't want somebody, so there's enough room for all of us to follow our dreams, follow our passions, help others, reach out. But we just need to build each other up first. Yeah. But it has to start from within. So I'm still learning, and I'm open to anybody's, I'm always open to what other women are doing to find that inner strength and that confidence. But I love listening to lyrics of songs, and I heard one today, and it's called Confidence. I'm like, there you go. You constantly have to be reminding yourself. But that's what I appreciate from everything I went through. It's really, really hard at the time. It's really, I'm connected with a few girls that are in the dark place right now of that decision. And it's really hard to know, like, what's the purpose, what's the plan? And, yeah, it's okay that I've learned something from it, but they don't feel like that's going to happen for them. And I want everybody to hold strong to that faith that everybody's story is different. Everybody's unique. And you just have to believe with all your heart that everything you've done, it's happened for a reason, for a purpose. And you know for yourself what works for you. Turn to those tools. Like if you reading speaks to you, you know, drawing speaks to you. Like my daughters are creative. My one daughter can draw, and that's not something that I normally gravitate towards, but I'm even starting to put myself in areas where I don't draw, but let me try drawing. Like if we're always judging ourselves and putting ourselves down, we're the first ones. So don't say I can't draw. Don't say I would always say I can't draw. I would draw the worst stick figure. Why don't I keep practicing until I get better? I'm terrible at live camera. I'm terrible at podcast. That's what up until when I first connected with you, I just felt like it was this beautiful moment. Because when you have these ideas, when things pop in your head, and when you feel like this fire that you're like, oh, I have these dreams, have these visions, I pop out of bed and start writing them. That's how I came across your page on the, and connected with you, and you reached out to me, and that was so beautiful, and it was amazing. Yeah. But for the first 2 weeks, I didn't even reach back. I remember because I was like starting to doubt myself, and I'm listening to everybody else's podcast, listening to everybody's interview, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And that's me defeating myself. That's me listening to the enemy who wants to keep me down and not, believe, no matter who it is. Like there's always going to be somebody. You might find somebody, maybe you don't have a loving partner, maybe you don't have a loving boss, maybe you don't feel like God, you just always know that there could be somebody putting you down and trying to stop you, but don't be the person to stop yourself first. Mm-hmm. We have to believe that first in ourselves before we can expect anybody else to believe that. So I hope that kind of, touches on finding the inner strength and the confidence, and but at the heart of my heart is passion to help other women, and believe in going past any dreams that you had. They could be small. Keep striving for something bigger. So there's a home that is my dream. It's an empty home in Seal Beach. And I have this vision in my head that this can be an amazing place to either house women and children, or it could be used as a resource for women and children, and maybe even families, men. I mean, there's just so many avenues. And I started feeling that's where doing the live video in January, that's kind of where everything was starting to go for me. I'm like, oh, let me believe in my dreams. Let me believe in this passion. But then wait a minute, I don't have the means. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. How am I going to make this happen? I started really doubting myself again, and like putting that, like not believing in that dream. No, that dream is there for a reason. It doesn't mean I have to be the one to make it happen. There's other places and people and organizations. And so that's why I started pouring myself into and connecting with all the organizations that connect with my soul and my purpose and my passion. So I've connected with Support After Abortion, Save One. I volunteer I used to volunteer at that pregnancy clinic in Huntington Beach, but I live in Venice now. So there's a homeless women's pregnancy shelter in Venice, and it's the most beautiful place. It's only housed women. It's only housed women since back in the day in the war times. And they opened this up, I don't know how many years ago, but it houses like, I think 6 to 8 women and their babies. And you can go volunteer there and help them. And they don't just house them. They teach them skills. They educate them. They do all these beautiful things to help them so they can break that cycle, And every night they sit down and have dinner together. I've only been blessed like twice to volunteer there. But when I get there and you sit down with these women and you share and this dinner is beautiful. And then I volunteered twice at the home, and I went to a fundraiser they had in December. Mm-hmm. And that was the previous year, the woman who, the organization of this, she had put it out there that she wanted to expand and get a bigger home. Would love to have a bigger home so they can house more women and their children, right? Yeah. She just threw that out there. And guess what? This Catholic church volunteered their space here, and it's on like La Brea and Olympic, I think, and it can house like 3 times as many women. So instead of like, they can house 18 women, and this all came. So that was in December, and I just watched their live about a week or so ago, and they're even with that struggle of, do we try to raise money? Do we still try to go on with this dream? Do we still try to go there? But they're like, yeah, these women. One of the girls that shared, she's like, if she would have been going through this during COVID, being on the streets, being home, like. It is a beautiful thing. So there's so many different places out there where you can put your time and resources and energy into. and they're going to help you grow along your way, because we all are unique. We all have our different passions. Some people are like about basketball. They love basketball. My neighbor loves basketball. She wants to go out and help young children with basketball, so everybody's dream is different. But when you got to really look inward at what makes you true to who you are and what will help you along your journey. Because every day we're still on this journey. Like,
Yeah.
we're still going to be on the ups and downs. I'm still going to be tomorrow. I might wake up feeling, oh my gosh,
What's going on?
and I started realizing, I was telling you, I share, I feel good that today I put makeup on and I did all this, but majority of the time I would put myself out there on camera without makeup, without my hair done, and just be natural. And which is beautiful that my boyfriend loves me that way and accepts me that way. And that's who I am, because I am a very basic girl. I just kind of wash my hair out the room and go out the door and go. But I do know that's also going to make me feel a little bit less insecure if I go on, so sometimes, you got to kind of weigh that. So you kind of got to know for yourself what's going to help you. And, some days I might feel like I'm so confident I could just go in front of this camera and talk and be okay looking like this. But other days I need all the tools, all the help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love having two young daughters, like 22 and 25. They struggle just as much as we all do too. But then when they get out there and you don't see them have that. It doesn't look like they have it. They get out there and they have these pictures. They know how to pose. They, even though I know they're at the core, they're going through the struggles. I see at the end the result, and you just fake it till you make it, kind of thing. We all have to keep just continually to believe and feel in our hearts that we are strong, confident, beautiful women, and we can achieve anything we want, and nobody can tear us down. But it's easier said than done, because things will happen every day to break us down. But
you just have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But first I want to say thank you so much for coming on, and you did amazing. Beautiful. You did amazing.
You made me feel so good. You're so inviting. You're very, make it easy.
Thank you. And then I want to touch on a part where you said that you feel like you keep comparing yourself. I think we all grow through that. And I say growing because it's something that we all have to grow through to get to the next level, or find ourselves even more, dig deeper to see, okay, why do I keep comparing? And I'm so happy that you are ready to help other women grow through the process of getting an abortion, and giving them the necessary content or information that they need, or resources to grow through that whole situation. Because not all women, they're gonna find the strength on their own to grow through having an abortion. And with society, and if they're still in that path, if they're still on that path where it's like they're still comparing, it can really weigh you down, as you mentioned. And I'm so happy for that. And you also mentioned about, I'm just going to check here, when you were saying that you were feeling guilty and your ex-husband was using it against you. I mean, that's what I don't know his thing, but from my perspective, people will do that. And there's nothing wrong. It's something I have come to love about myself, and there's nothing wrong with you being empathetic, kind, and wearing your heart on your sleeve. It's just for us to set up those boundaries. It all boils down to boundaries, because in this world, they need the kindness. That's why we're made. So it's not like when you mentioned to your friend, she's all strong and fiery. Yeah,
when she hears her name on there too.
Hi. Yeah. So
I didn't tell anybody too that I was going on, except for a small group of women that I met at the group that we have, like this breakfast Zoom thing. But I didn't tell any of my friends or family, because I'm like, I don't know that.
You did amazing. So when you mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You have different characters. We all have different characters, and that's what makes us unique and special. So your journey is going to help a lot of other women. My journey is going to help a lot of other, men, women, doesn't matter. But we're all here for a reason. And I just want to say thank you so much. And you did amazing. I didn't even have to say anything. You took it away. So you are ready.
I'm like, oh, there they go. Tell me there she loves to talk, but that is who I am. And I always connect with people who love to talk, and we we love to share and we love to talk. I met one beautiful, I'll have to mention her name, Marianne. I met her at a laundromat of all places in California, even though she was from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And she was here and her own thing, through her own thing. And it was the first time I actually had even gone to a laundromat myself. I had gone earlier that day for the first time, and then I had to go back because I needed to do bedding and stuff. And something drew me to her. And I saw her, and I'm like, are you okay? And because she was trying to use the change machine, and earlier it worked, and now it wasn't. So I'm like, oh, that's weird, because I know it worked earlier that day. So that was my opening to talk to her. Like, sometimes find that opening. And then I saw, I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, well, it's a long story. And I'm like, well, you tell me your story.
Sorry.
I'll tell you mine, and we'll be best friends. And we've been since. So she's amazing. And to see her and witness her growth and her change and her journey has been amazing. I love being part of other people and seeing what they've gone through. And I've had so many incredible women along the way. When I was in my darkest days, that's when you meet these other women. And like I said, and sometimes it's been men too, strangers that, people overlook. So you just be willing to be open to receive, but also be willing to like give others.
Yeah, it's I love that you said that, because it's amazing to actually see people, like, communicate with them. As I mentioned in a recent episode too, that communication is key, but it's to create that space and find that one person who you really can connect to just speak. Because once you start speaking, you start learning more about yourself. You start knowing, okay, I need to work on this, I need to dig deeper. That's when you find out everything. And speaking to that person to where that person's not judgmental, they accept you with open arms, and that you're just gonna see. It's just a beautiful feeling to see when people just evolve, and you're talking, and that smile and that whole aura. It's just a beautiful feeling for me. So I can totally relate to that.
I'll tell you something that what made me fall in love with my boyfriend. The first thing he told me, he's like, how do you make someone smile? How do you add, I just gave it away. How do you add 1 second to your life?
By smiling.
How do you add 2 seconds to your life?
By smiling.
Make someone else smile.
Oh, there we go.
How do you live forever?
Growing.
Smile all the time. Smile all the time. So make yourself smile. Make someone else smile.
Smile all the time.
So that's what made me fall. That's his little thing he gave. I'm like, I love that. And I don't always practice it, because sometimes I'm like, when I'm feeling down, I know I'm not smiling. I'm just still judging myself. I'll even have to say with my passion for my purpose, I woke up one day with a dream, and this dream was beautiful, but I was in a pool, and it was like Mary and Joseph, and I just, because I don't I don't want people to, judge me for anything. Like, I never want to alienate anybody. Like, if you have faith or your spirituality, or you believe, I don't ever want to alienate anybody. But I had this dream that was Mary and Joseph, and they were in a pool, and they were carrying this baby, and there was blood, and then it came to me. And there was this golden, beautiful, like, it was amazing, this beautiful light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, am I the only one that felt that? I saw that, because it was this feeling of this beauty. And then I looked around, and when my boyfriend was there and my daughters were there, and I'm like, it was beautiful. And I was like, that was where it started for me, that I know without a shadow of a doubt, if I could help save one child, that is my passion. That is, but I will never alienate anybody. Coming from a place of having an abortion, I can't judge. I know there's people are pro-choice, pro-life, and I can't be on one side of the fence the other, because to me that's still judging. Mm-hmm. I can't judge somebody else because I walked in the shoes. All I want to do is educate them, give them all the tools, resources, know that there's hope, there's help, there's people you can turn to. It's an open topic now. So don't carry that alone. First, have all your options, and then, then if you choose not to, there's, adoption. I'm a beautiful, I'm an example of that, or you can have it, or, so there's, and then even adoptions now adoptions now are open. So there's other things. I wouldn't never judge anybody when it alienates somebody saying, I can't help you because you've already made that choice. But if I could help educate them and know that there's things that they would never know, I would have never known that how my life was going to be affected by that one choice. So that is my passion, to help them. But once they have, and you're going through that, then to reach out for help.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, sorry, because there's probably a time I don't want to go over. But
no,
yeah, that's
it.
I just need to say, I just don't want to. I can't be on one side of the fence. But it is pro-love. One of the people that helped me, when they talk about it, they say pro-love. It is. It's all about love. So it's not pro-life, it's pro-choice, it's pro-love. Love yourself first. When you love yourself first, then that decision you make, it's going to be fully 100% your decision. And you're going to be okay. You'll be stronger from that. But there's so many wonderful books, movies, things that you can turn to, everything that you can turn to in life just to help you. So I just, that's all. I want to connect with others. And that's, I will share one thing, because that kind of brought up something real quick. When I took the video class, the reason I went to an open call for this video class, and my daughter went with me. I'd never met the lady before that was running it. My daughter's being like, why are you coming here? You don't have a business. What are you trying to do? I'm like, I don't know. There's some reason. I had connected with her through, I had listened to another person's, follow her podcast. So you connect the dots, so you connect this person and connect that person. But there was a young girl who shared openly and talked openly, about, going through and being raped by family members, let alone. And she was young, like my daughter's age. And she talked with no shame. And she talked about this subject not being taboo and it's okay. And she was the one person, she doesn't even know it yet. She's the reason that I chose. I'm like, okay, I can take this class and I can open up and I can speak about this. We're not in the same subject, but this, so you can find encouragement from others. Yeah. So even if you don't have the encouragement yourself, look to others for encouragement, because they got it from somewhere else too. We're all like sending out, should we not? Like, you have to all look somewhere like for some type of encouragement.
I believe that the encouragement, it's there in us, but it's just that when we hear it from somewhere else, or we get that little boost or that light bulb, it's just that trigger to say, okay, you can do it. It's in you. And we all need that. I think it's like there's a flame, and it's like it's inside of you, and then you hear it from somebody else. If you're having second doubts and stuff, and then that flame just becomes like, it's just that light bulb, and it's like, oh, I can do it. That is why I love connecting with people and hearing, because we're here just talking right now and doing this podcast, and somebody might be listening right now, and they get that wow, I can do it. I'm not the only one, and that's the reason for this platform.
That's awesome. That was amazing too, because remember when I first talked to you, I thought you were in California. I thought you were in Toronto. I'm like, what? So this is a beautiful thing about this platform in this way. So people need to take that advantage of that, because you can connect. One of the jobs I did, I was driving Uber, and a beautiful thing I found, I met couples that couple from a guy that's here from Barcelona, met a girl online and came up. There's you can connect with somebody else. It doesn't have to be right next to you, right around the street from you, right there. You can connect with so many amazing people, and you might not even know at this moment that you're going to connect with them. But to start kind of following, there's little clues along the way, like things that pop up. There's a reason it's directing you there. It's directing you to connect with. So you're the only one and only person I connected with on that group, and it's I appreciate it. And I do hope, I want to put out there that I want to try to push myself, do the podcast that I say I want to, because I said I have the name for it, and I want to try to move forward with that. And if I do, I'm not going to say if I do, I would love to have you on there. So hopefully I go with it, because I would love to hear your story. And
you know what? I'm not going to say, I'm going to wait for you to say, okay, Kathy, it's time. Let's do it. I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to do it, because you did amazing right now. And I'll be here. I know you're going to do it.
Awesome. And hopefully one day we're all out of this, whole pandemic, and life goes back to normal. But I, for one, I appreciated this time. And I think hopefully a lot of people just took time to like really reset their priorities and things, and really like no, just go back to life as normal. Like I hope everybody really appreciates their family, their loved ones, their life, and just change from the better. Because I think this was supposed to be I think there was something good, that beautiful, that can come out of it. We could all evolve from
Yeah.
this, into a better society of human beings looking out for one another instead of just walking over each other.
Yeah, and I made a note here, like you mentioned about women being always competitive and bringing each other down. I have been experiencing that, and then I listened to Oprah, and that's where I actually got over, I would say, grow through that part of me, because I kept wondering, okay, so why is it that you want to tear me down, and you're a woman just the same? Why not just work together? We can can create such beautiful things. But then it's not about me, it's really about what the other person is dealing with. So I want to end the episode and add into all that you said. It's not about you. I mean, we are all dealing with things, and it's hard, like you said too. It takes a lot of work, but you just always have to remember, it's not about you. It's about the other person. So you might think, okay, why is that? Why is this? Why are you acting like this? But it's not about you. It's not. There's nothing you can do about the other person. You can only control your thoughts and how you react to something.
Yeah, exactly what you said is that's the key. It's like you can't control others. And when I was trying to go through therapy and stuff, they're like, "Oh, my ex-husband's so controlling." It's like, no, I was also being controlling because I'm controlling my life based on trying to make somebody else happy. So we all have some level of control that we're trying to, do. We just gotta let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let go and let God. That's what I say. So I do. I gotta send that out there. It's beautiful. So because He's the one that created us, and we're all here in this beautiful planet, and thank you.
And He's the one who is aligning all of this. He's the reason why I met you.
Master planner, master creator. He created created us all He created us, each and every one of us, to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Nobody else gets to choose why and who. He's the one that chose them. We're each in our own a masterpiece that He created, and we can work together to create more masterpieces in this world. And so I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I hope I'm able to reach out to anyone who is, and just say I would love to ask for any support and any prayers and support for women right now that I know that are out there hurting right now, that are going through, whether it's from abortion pain or rape or trauma or abuse. Just send collective prayers and beautiful light to those women and men and families, just in general, to like just heal from the core of the family unit, so that they all can, continue to pass on a legacy of children that are passing that on.
For sure. I would add that on my prayer list. I will do that. And I'm sure the listeners, they will be praying too, because you know what? God is amazing. And I am looking out for your podcast, because I know you're going to do it.
Yeah. I thank you. You gave me tools, so I'm going to have to one day at a time. Look at that. Don't have to have the fancy one. Don't have to have just do it in my time and my way. And
yeah, the key thing to anything is to start. Like today, I did my first IG live,
that was cool.
And yeah, so it's just a start. We all have to start at something. So, and I'll end by saying that if you are comparing yourself to somebody else who may be successful, or they started just the same, and they were iffy, and can I do this? Can I not do this? And comparing. So in order to become a master in anything, you have to start. You have to start. And also trust God and keep the faith.
Yeah. It was mine. Oh, mine was, that's the next text too I want, because I want to say just believe. But this is my always, because this is just me and my daughters for us, this connect us. And then this Bible verse says, "Thank you for everything I've been through in my." I'm just paraphrasing, but for anyone who doesn't have, want it like preachy prayer, it's just, "Thank you for everything I've been through in my life, because it's made me persevere and made me strong and made me complete and whole."
Yeah.
So that's how we all are. We're all complete and whole, and we're all beautiful human beings. So thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the listeners, and be kind, kind to one another. Be kind to me with your feedback. Be kind to support Kathy and her podcast too. And I'm going to make sure to go on and give my feedback to you as well too. I know you need
Thank you.
support as well. So thank you.
And I appreciate you guys for listening, and God bless you.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.